Hey, good evening, my friends. How are you? Welcome to another edition of Wednesday Night Live with me, Mike Avery. Here in my home studio tonight. Davina, good evening. How are you? Boy, it was a nice day today, wasn't it? Good evening, Randy. Hello, Brenda, Craig, Ray. It's hard for me to tell how loud that is. Everything's great, Jim. Appreciate it. Hello, Ross. Company coming tonight. Jim in Tennessee. The great music. Tony was out chasing crows today. It wasn't it? Somebody was tapping maple trees for sap already. Spring is springing. Yeah, Linda, and I've had 2 reports of dead skunks in the road today. One in Coldwater and one in Midland. Good evening, Gary. How are you? Going to be on a podcast talking college bass fishing. Excellent. Clint, good evening. Gary, how are you? Everything goes well. Bernie, always a pleasure. Omer says it was a beautiful day in Petoskey. Oh, man, I bet it was. Isn't every day a beautiful day in Petoskey? I kind of feel like it is. Hello, Ted. How are you? Jim, who is this right here? Uncle Johnny. It was a great day today, wasn't it? Absolutely a beautiful day. Hey, Corey, John. Hello, Brent. Hey, Trace, how you doing? How you feeling? Elmer said he had a dead skunk in the road up by his place in Petoskey yesterday. Patrick, Matt, good evening. My name is Mike Avery, and this is Wednesday Night Live here on my Facebook page, my YouTube channel, my Twitter feed, and my LinkedIn account. Still working on a way to do Instagram. Instagram doesn't like playing with these other things. Hey, Tim, good evening. How are you, buddy? Tim Binns, here's a quest for you, my friend. Well, I'm trying to stream live to Instagram as well using StreamYard. Instagram and StreamYard don't play well together, but since I don't have a verified Instagram account, my ways of going live other than on a separate device are very, very limited. I could do a separate device, but I really don't want to. Good evening, Dave. How are you? Yeah, it was a beautiful day today. Had a great day in the studio. Good show. I think a really nice show. Good, strong show today. Corey says he smelled a skunk on the way into Midland. I have not smelled one yet. Although my buddy Scott says he hit one on the road on the north side of Midland today. Hey, Donnie Mae, how are you? You know, skunks are always a good sign, but what is the ultimate sign? When the red-winged blackbirds come back. And I think it's going to be a while for that. Jeff, good evening. Cameron, nice to have you along with us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. What day is it, Ed? It is hump day. Hump day. That's about the extent of my hump days lately. I felt I was being a little too obnoxious. And for me to be obnoxious, I have to really be obnoxious. Because sometimes I try to be, and sometimes I don't try to be, and I still am. So what's going on? Oh, along with the dead skunks in the road, have you noticed the days are definitely getting longer? I mean, especially on a day like today when it was sunny all day long. That's what I'm thinking, Bernie. I'm thinking maybe Toro Grosso was right. Steve saw a robin yesterday. You know what I think about those robins, though, Steve? I don't trust those things. I've seen them I've seen them in January. And why do we have a robin as a state bird? Why do we have a state bird that abandons us some in the wintertime? Why don't we have like a red-winged blackbird or a cardinal or something that sticks around? 41 this evening, sunset at 5:31. Eric, how are things in Roscommon? Hey, Steve, are you going to be at the Trinity Wild Game Dinner? Did you guys get tickets? I hope so. State bird, Kirtland's warbler. Nope. I would not vote for that. I want a state bird that it's at least across much of the state and everybody can see it. That's just me, though. Jason, how are things up in the Sioux? Tim says he's hoping for a good inch of rain to get rid of all that snow. But if we get an inch of rain, think of how muddy and think of how everything's going to be flooded over. Excellent, Steve. Where'd we go, Davina? Just over 4 weeks. Turkey. I would go with the turkey. Yep. Wild turkey, absolutely. Turkey, sure. Why not? Why not? Grouse, cardinal, yep. Jeff saw 3 dead skunks from Gladwin to Ithaca today. I haven't seen mine yet. Haven't seen my first dead skunk yet, but yeah, I think Torgrosa was right. I think it's going to be chickadee. You know what? A chickadee. I love chickadees. They're kind of an overlooked bird, aren't they? And they're friendly as can be. You know, how many times you've been sitting in the woods deer hunting and had a chickadee come up and sit on your barrel? You won't see a robin do that. John says, nope, you just don't want the state bird to be on a game list. It would give the anti-hunting groups reason to go after the hunting of that bird. You're right, John. You are absolutely right. Absolutely right. Hell, Chuck, how are things in southern Alabama? Nuthatch, chickadee, one of your faves, Eric says. I interviewed, hey, Harry, how you doing? I interviewed, where'd he go? Chuck, I interviewed a fellow Alabama guy today, fellow to you, Randy Cound of Hooking Up Guide Service on Lake Martin. He was the topic of our Angler Quest podcast today. And he said it was 74 degrees today when we were talking to him. It was like 44 here, which wasn't bad. I'll take 44. So what are the topics of discussion? The days are certainly getting longer. We're seeing some initial signs of spring. Donnie Mae is a Maine, what do you call it? What do you call it when you grow up in a, not a resident, native. Good point. Good point, Davina. Another good point there, Bernie. Maniac. That's a good one, a maniac. It's not the term I was thinking of, but that's a good one. Days are getting longer. I'm glad I'm not an ice fisherman. If I was an ice angler, I would be so frustrated and like ready to sell all my gear. It hasn't been much of an ice fishing season across much of the state. Doesn't look like it's going to be. River fishing's been pretty good for steelhead and walleye. What I'm looking forward to is turkey season coming up. Really looking forward to that. Getting a new Angler Quest out on Saginaw Bay. Harry right now has got 8 deer within 2 feet of the back window eating birdseed. Did I see 6 cars went in the water in Minnesota? No. Hey, Corey, I just posted your video. Or not your video. I posted your bobcat pictures, and I have a question for you, Corey. The video you sent me, which is very cool, and I will be sharing it. Where's that from? Is that the Yoop? Because some of those critters are obviously wolves, and some of them to me look like coyotes. Did you have wolves and coyotes coming into the same, what is it, a dead deer? A barely alive skunk. Good evening, Dan. How are you? Where'd you go, Dan? Davina, what's a good to plant and food plot for turkeys? We're going to have to ask our friends at Killer Food Plots on that one. Yeah, guys got rescued in the bay already. Jeff, of course, things from Miami. I don't want to sound cold-hearted or like a jerk, but I'm often cold-hearted and a jerk. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who get rescued off Saginaw Bay or Lake Erie or anywhere like that. If the conditions are such that you might get rescued, stay off it. Tap, tap, tap. Is this thing on? I don't know. I mean, can you hear me? All 14 are safe. That's good. I'm glad they're safe, but I don't know. Very small sturgeon in Black Lake. Kind of surprised how small they were this year. Elmer, I saw those weights. They did, and I saw pictures of the fish. They did look a little small, but that's just luck of the draw, right? It doesn't mean big sturgeon aren't there. It just means the first 5 fish to be speared were smaller fish. Do I know what the cost is to those anglers? Nothing. They don't get charged a dime, Ed. Not a dime. Unless they call in private rescue people. Coast Guard can't charge. Coast Guard comes and gets you. They don't get charged. Corey, where'd you go? I want to see if all of your video is from the Yoop. Only cost is rescue from like TK. What is TK? I'm sorry. Hey, Randy, how you doing, buddy? Corey. Not that Corey. Where the other Corey? Are you from the UP? Because it was obviously wolves. Some of those critters were wolves. There's no doubt about it. But it was cool to see coyotes and bobcats on the same bait. Johnny Bowler, my good friend, the Bear Whisperer. How are you, buddy? Johnny, I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at the big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. Of course, Johnny has donated a UP bear/whitetail hunt. If you have the bear license, if you have the bear tag, it's a bear hunt. What? Corey, are you telling me that video is from Aranac County? And you're not kidding me, Corey? I would swear that at least one of those big, because I don't, Corey, I think you're kidding me. Because to me, okay, TK is a recovery company. Corey, I swear I saw a collar on that one. Like it was a collared wolf. TK Recovery, TK Builder Salvage, TK Recovery Specialist. Now I got you. I didn't know that. Grew up down there with you guys. We all know if the wind blew from the south in Opal Lake here and you didn't go out. That's what I think. Corey, man. I got to look at that more closely. Yeah, Johnny, he was a good man. His family's going to miss him tremendously. Hello, Mike. How are things in Marlette? No joke. Corey, did you look at that video the same way I did? Did you see the same thing there that I did? Or was it just me looking at it quickly with a quick glance on my phone instead of a bigger screen? Wow. Now you got me one. I'm going to look at it here real quick here right now. You folks can't see it, but I can see it. Corey. And I won't waste your time anymore. There he is. Trail camera videos. I don't know. That's I'm not one of those people who says there are wolves down here, but that critter does look like got you confused too, so it's not just me. Okay. Hey Gene, how are you? That's probably the biggest coyote I've ever seen. Evening, Lori, how are you? Hello, Rich, how are you? Mike, nice to have you along with us. Mike, are you back from Arizona yet? Or no, I think you said you come back the 3rd, maybe. Can Johnny Bowler bid on his own hunt and your fishing trip? Why not? Johnny Bowler can also bid on the Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters hunt. By the way, Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters was going to join me tonight, but his internet is out. I said, can you do it from your cell? And he said they're replacing cell towers down by him. So his internet's out and his cell service is squirrely. So he couldn't join us tonight. I'm going to have him on, not next week. Yeah, where'd you go, Mike? You're leaving next week. Okay. Next week here on Wednesday Night Live, Amy Trotter, Executive Director of MUCC, will be joining me. I know that you enjoy our conversations with her because it's your chance when she joins me on Wednesday Night Live for you to present questions directly to her. You don't often get that chance. How often do you get a chance to ask questions of the Executive Director of MUCC? I think I said DNR, MUCC. She'll be with us at 7 o'clock next Wednesday night. Bill Piles will join me the following week. I suspect that Amy's going to want to talk about the consent decree proposal and those gill nets. I suspect she's going to want to talk about the governor's state of the state, where she talked about gun control. Amy is going to join us once a quarter, Linda. She's going to join us March, June, August, November, something like that. Hello, Jerry. How are you? Jerry, where are you? Your name, I don't recognize you. Where are you checking in from? Good evening, Rick. How are you? I like it when people call me captain. I honestly do. I am a licensed charter captain, though I am not a practicing charter captain. But it's nice to have the title. In fact, there's my card right there. Card-holding member of the Michigan Charter Boat Association. There's my truck decal, although I haven't put it on yet. And this is a decal that I'll put on the new Angler Quest. Southwest Michigan. Well, indeed, I am. Captain, oh, Captain. Yes, Linda. I'm the captain of Maker's Mark. And in about a half hour. Actually, it's not tonight. That's not going to happen tonight. Evening, Charles. How are you? How are things over on YouTube? It's not going to happen right away tonight, because as soon as I get done here, we're going to head over to the local Buffalo Wild Wings, because my granddaughter, Addison, they're having a fundraiser like B-Dubs often does for the local high school teams. My granddaughter plays varsity softball. I do need a hat like Captain Crunch. And they're having a fundraiser over at B-Dubs. So I'm going to go over there and have a Guinness. And then probably come back here and put a little splash of Maker's Mark in here as a nightcap. Pretty good over on YouTube, eh, Charles? Jerry, how are things in Algonac? Is there any ice down there at all, Jerry? Or is it all open water at this point? There's not much good ice anywhere in the lower, or at least the bottom of the lower. Okay, what else is on my list here? When I think of open water trolling on the Angler Quest on Saginaw Bay, I start thinking about rod restrictions. It's open water. Okay. Good one, Davina. I think we're going to get serious about pushing for that again this summer. I've got some folks who are working with me who have a better proposal than I had. And I know it. I know that Saginaw Bay ice can be very safe. I know it can be, but I also know it can be very squirrely. And so when conditions are such that people end up being rescued on the ice, I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. Good evening, Bert. How are you? Here he says 7 inches on Blue Lake and Lake. Robert, how are things over in Hope? I think we're going to push for this rod restrictions, elimination of rod restrictions, or at least loosen up the rod restrictions. There's no reason you should be limited to trolling 3 rods. Next, let's see, the weekend of March 11th, I will be going to the Michigan Conservation Officers Association annual dinner. And I'm going to do an unofficial poll of those guys and gals and ask them if they think it's good use of their time to be looking for and enforcing the number of rods that Great Lakes trolling anglers are using. I feel like it's a waste of their time, because they can always, the resource isn't going to get hurt. You can still only catch the same number of fish in the same size limit. So what's it matter how many rods you use to get there? To me, I think laws that are unnecessary are ridiculous. In today's world, we just don't need them. What else? You see the Rompola buck controversy has reared its ugly head again. I guess it never really went away, but lately it's getting a lot of attention. The most recent thing, a CBM scorer from the Traverse City area of northern Michigan, did an interview with Deer and Deer Hunting magazine. Tony, I've been thinking skinny water for weeks now. For weeks. Well, Johnny, when you fish with me, you're a youper, so I figure you don't even, rod restrictions to a youper have no bearing at all, do they, Johnny? did an interview with Deer and Deer Hunting Magazine where he says he just thinks the Ron Pola buck is a joke. And one of the reasons he says that is, they didn't invite me in to score it. Well, I don't know. I am one of few people who has interviewed. I tell you what, I'm one of the few people on here tonight who has talked to Mitch Ronpola, who has interviewed Mitch Ronpola, who has been to his house there near Traverse City, who has had Mitch take him out in the woods and show him how he scouts. And for the longest time, for 23 years or so, I swore up and down it was legit. I am starting to question it only because of a recent podcast that Kevin Vistison did, a Michigan guy, on the Deer Hunter podcast. He did a multi-part series about Ron Pola. In fact, I was featured in one of the parts of it. About episode 5 of that series, Kevin had a taxidermist on there, and Kevin was talking about, or the taxidermist was talking about the way that the antlers look coming off the skull. And after you hear that taxidermist, after I heard the taxidermist, I started looking at all around Pola's bucks, and it's like, I can't unhear it now. And so I'm starting to, I have some doubts now, whereas for the last 25 years, I never did. Mitch, you can solve this whole thing by just going with me on the radio show. Keep up the good work. Heard you shag balls for my son, Jeff, while he's instructing your granddaughter. Yes. And what I'm trying to do is, it's my goal, Jim, do I call you Jim? It's my goal, Jim, that when she hits one of those out in the outfield, I desperately want to catch it with my bare hand. Now, I could take a glove with me and just catch it, but it's become a quest. I used to be able to do something like that when I was a kid and when I was quicker. I don't have the reflexes now that I used to. So what happens is a ball will hit me in the hand, whack, and it bounces out before I can make myself close my hand. Hurts like heck too. So my goal is to shag those balls and actually finally catch one. Now, maybe if I just cradled it in my arms and took it in the chest, maybe I could do that. I know, Tim. I know. And it does make you think. I have stories. I don't have time to go into them here tonight, but Ron Pola stories of the very limited time I spent with him, that he was very, very impressive. Very impressive. A recluse, borderline hermit, not a very social guy. I got along with him just fine. Enjoyed my conversations with him. But he just dropped out of sight. But the story hasn't gone. The story's not gone. I agree with you, Rob. Hey, Eric, good evening. How are you? Dan, nice to have you along with us. What else is on my list? Okay, let me share this with you. Get rid of that. What can I do with that? There we go. You see that flyer right there? That is for our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction coming up Saturday, March 4th. There are a very, very few tickets. I mean, like a handful of tickets left. If you take your phone out and you scan that QR code right there, you can get tickets online. Matt Schock will be there. Matt is giving away a nighttime predator hunt. And Matt's a great guy to go hunting with. He's Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association's Predator Hunter of the Year. And he's graciously offered us a hunt. How cool is that? Scan that QR code right there or call 989-662-4891 and you can get one of the last tickets out there. Again, that event is Saturday, March 4th. We have some wonderful items, some fantastic live auction items, including an African safari, a salmon fishing trip on Lake Michigan with Captain Paul Schlafly, a bow hunt in Ohio, Saginaw walleye trip with Captain Jeff Godey, a walleye fishing trip with Captain Mark Pananzak on the Detroit River, Michigan brand products for a year. I'm auctioning off a walleye fishing trip with me on Saginaw Bay. We're auctioning off a Saginaw River cruise with my wife Denise and I. The live auction items are only available for the live auction, but the online auction items, or the silent auction items, will be available to anybody. And I will give you the link when it becomes live. It's just a little bit too early to give you that link. But even if you can't make the event, you can still bid on. We're also got a shoulder mount we're going to auction off live. Just a lot of great prizes. Some of the online auction items will be a youth hunt for whitetails. We've got 2 of them. Look at Phil's meeting. He sold me on what a great hunter he was. He lives deer hunting. He does. Used to shag balls, getting too slow the older I get. I'm trying, Jim. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to do it. It was nice talking to your son too. He's a great coach. I know my granddaughter Addison just loves him. Just loves him. I mentioned the Wednesday night live next Wednesday with Amy Trotter. Be sure to tune in for that. You can ask her questions directly, and we'll talk about the consent decree debacle, among other things. Davina asked me who's on the Outdoor Magazine radio show this week. I'm really, when I put the show together, I try to make every show as good as I can. Is there going to be Michigan brand products on that river trip? Of course, the river cruise, we supply the food and the drinks. You need to supply the cigars. John Dirtka of Purely Michigan Spearfishing joins me. They have numbers now on how many fish, what we consider normally game fish like walleye, pike, and lake trout, were speared by underwater spearfishermen. There was concern by some people that those folks would have a real bad impact on the resource. The numbers don't prove that. John talks about that. Scott Hamlin of the Boning Company joins me to talk about that. Don't even get started, Ed. I owe you a trip, Ed. I owe you 2 trips, a river cruise and a fishing trip. But if you mention crawlers, if you keep talking about crawlers, I'll renege on that and you won't get either trip. I'm just saying. Just saying. Elmer said the petition to save Cornwall floodings is going well. I need to follow up on this. 1,600 people have signed it. Also, 2 state reps speaking up to save it. That and the whole, I will, Corey, because they have Guinness on tap. That and the whole Camp Grayling thing I need to follow up on that as well. Scott Hamlin talking about boning. Ali Shakur, fisheries biologist, tournament angler. Always enjoy my conversations with him. Then Amy Trotter actually joins me on the radio show this week. She talks about consent decree and some other topics. I consider that just a warm-up for next week's Wednesday Night Live. And in hour number 3, the Whitetail Whisperer, John Eberhardt, talks about saddle hunting, scent control, post-season scouting, and more. I find it interesting. I've been talking to John on the radio show for 20 years about saddle hunting. And now all of a sudden you go to YouTube and everybody out there is an expert on saddle hunting. Got to do the podcast, Up North Journal Live on Facebook. Yeah, I know those guys. The one guy is a photographer, a videographer at Channel 12. If I help me out, John, a videographer at Channel 12. I used to be a videographer at Channel 12. Yeah, I've listened to those guys. They do a good job. I think they also do a video version, don't they? Johnny, my flicker shads will work up there. I'll tell you. I'm telling you right now, flicker shads will work. Of course, so will Hottentots, and so will flicker minnows and everything else. And of course, wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Miner wraps it all up. I talked to Dave today, and I actually got the first impression that Dave is now desperately bored in retirement. Up until now, he had been busy tearing stuff out of the restaurant before they tear it down. Sounds like he's done with that now. So I'm real glad our Trinity Monitor wild game dinner is coming up so Dave can go to that and give him something to work on. You remember the old TV time, eh, Harry? I'm glad to be out of it. It was a great experience. It let me do a lot of things. Mike says flicker shads work well out there for stripers. What lake are you on out there? Is it Havasu? No. Havasu doesn't have stripers, does it, Mike? And did you take your boat out there, or do you have a boat already out there? 3 questions for you, Mike. Are you on Havasu? Does Havasu have stripers? And do you have a boat out there? David, good evening. Just talking to your brother. He's on here as well. David, the better looking bowler brother. At least that's what I've been told. Lake Havasu. Lake Havasu. Yes, they do. And yep, I have a boat here. Good for you, Mike. Good for you. Jerry, good evening. How are you? Appreciate you joining us on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Again, one more time, I'll be back here next Wednesday night, that time, with Amy Trotter of MUCC, Executive Director of MUCC. Also, don't forget about the Angler Quest podcast I recorded with Randy Cound, talking about fishing stripers in Alabama, big crappies and bass as well. All right. Well, you know that I have plans. Let me show this one more time. I have plans for the evening here. The rest of the evening, actually, for a little while. That is the flyer for our big Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner and Auction. It's Saturday, March 4th at the Great Hall in Midland. Open bar. Dixie Dave is catering the event. I am the auctioneer and kind of, I don't know, do they call me a host? Yeah, they call me a host. It's a great event. It's a lot of fun. Did I interview Morton F? Absolutely. There's a few tickets left. There's James. James says, if either of you get the fishing trip, I'll first mate, and there will more than likely be crawlers. Only problem is you'll have to call the coasties to pluck me out of the water. Maybe. Oh, you know, Johnny's birthday is next week. I didn't know that. How old's Johnny? Johnny's like old as dirt, isn't he? Sherry, how are things in Poseyville? All right, Harry, I'll look forward to it. Morton F. Yeah, if you go to my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and click on the About tab, there are pictures of me with Morton F. on the snow train. Rick, also, if you go to my YouTube channel, Mike Avery Outdoors on YouTube, search the videos, you can find video of me and Morton F. So yeah, I did get to interview Morton F. I got to spend some time with Morton F. When I was just getting started, you'll be the big 5-0 on the the big 5-0 on Valentine's Day. How nice. So yeah, I had a chance to send Mort some videos back when I had hair. I've still got hair right now, Tim. I do. It's just, it was getting kind of thin on top, and I've always liked the look of, a bald head and a beard. So when it started getting thin and I lost some weight, I thought I'll shave it. Hey, Brian, how are you? Yeah, Brian, we got to get out to our lease property and get probably some cameras out of there. And I got a blind and a heater out there too. You wonder if Johnny Bowler will be celebrating at Andy's. Ed, do you really wonder that? Really? Hey, James. Where's James? My son James. Where did he go? There's James. Did you see, James, that this guy right here was on earlier? He is the coach's dad. There you go, right there. James Nowacek. I think we can probably call him Jim. He is the dad of Addie's hitting coach. How cool is that? Late Ed Company, eh? Ready to set your cameras back out for turkey season? Who was Mort's sidekick? It was, hey, Dad, how are you? It was, he was Howard Shelley. Ted, Camp Grayling came up earlier in the conversation. I know we need to do a follow-up. I know we do. Gene Little was a cameraman. Yes. You know who else was a cameraman for Morton F? This is interesting fun fact. Another guy who was a cameraman for Morton F is a guy named Pete Jonas. Pete Jonas was my mentor at TV5. He's the guy who really helped me out. Pete was very well known in the outdoor film industry. He's the guy who actually got me the invitation to go to Grouse Haven with Fred Bear. Jerry says he's just getting the ice gear, getting it dried out for the weekend's lake trout and pike derby. Hopefully, you're not drying it out because you went through the ice. In fact, if you remember the open of the Michigan Outdoors TV show, there was a grouse that was drumming on a log. That was film that Pete Jonas, my mentor, shot when he worked with Mort Neff. Archer, I love that name, James. Archer, great name. Great name. Well, I was going to wrap this up a little bit early because I thought we had to get over to B-Dubs, unless James is already at B-Dubs. In fact, I am going to wrap it up early. One last time, tickets still available. Very, very few tickets. Scan that QR code or call 989-662-4891. I'll bet you there's not 6 tickets left. So if you want to get in on it, do it now. Amy Trotter, Wednesday Night Live, joins me next week. The week after, Bill Piles of Ohio Bow Hunting Outfitters. Bill is offering up a trip for our Trinity Monitor Wild Game Dinner. Also, if you don't win that trip or bid on that trip at our Trinity Monitor dinner, I should have mentioned this earlier, we still have a couple of spots open for our hunt with Bill the third week in Ohio, the third week in October. It's like the 16th through the 20th, something like that. $2,500. That's a pretty good price. Meals and lodging included. Bill's looking for half of it down now, so you don't have to come up with a whole 25. $1,250 now gets you in on the hunt with us. I'll be back down there. James will be back down there. Ed will be back down there. Joey Baird might be back down there with us, and Mark Holston as well. Is there a menu list for Trinity? Yeah. It's all Michigan wild game. But I don't have a list with me. Archer James, Grandma's maiden name and Grandpa's first name. That's very cool. Very cool. All right, my friends, have a good night. My name is Mike Avery. You know what we got to do now, don't you? There we go. My name is Mike Avery. My website. My email address is mike@mikeaveryoutdoors.com. Don't hesitate to reach out. I'd like to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Comments, suggestions, criticisms, questions for the Ask Avery segment. Be thinking of your questions for Amy Trotter next week on Wednesday Night Live. All right, my friends, thanks for joining me on this edition of Wednesday Night Live. Have a great night. Let's hope the weather holds. Enjoy it. Have fun. Talk to you next time right here on Wednesday Night Live.